When I began working on the project, it was hard to see the end due to all the moving parts. However, I am glad that it all came together well in the end. The main advantage is that the characters will not change after being baked into puppet form. The Hydra heads allow them some life.
Welcome back, everybody. It's time for another DDLP. So we're going to do a deep dive live project. This is going to build on stuff that we did in the first video. However, it's just the actual faces that we're going to be taking, and I'm going to cover that again. So you don't really need to see the first video, but it would give you a bit more insight in what we're going to do today. So we've already played an example of what we're going to get out of this. The main advantage is that you can use the same, you can create your own face models. So that means the faces will be consistent. You create the outfits from a prompt. So that means that they'll be, good enough to swap out and use with multiple faces. You can change the face so you can have multiple characters wearing the same outfit, stuff like that. Once you've baked it, that's it. We're going to turn that into a puppet with Adobe Character Creator. But then we're going to modify the template slightly so that we have a tracker in the place of the head where the neck goes. Then what we're going to do is we're going to have the head still on the puppet as a layer that we can turn on and off. And then we're going to take the screenshot of the head, isolate it, use that with Hydra to animate the lines. Now the speech, of course, as in the previous video, which we explained at length, we'll do it a lot quicker this time, is going to come from some kind of AI text-to-speech. So you have your text-to-speech model for the character. You speak the lines, transform them, run them with the face of the character through Hydra. And then we do motion tracking with After Effects to track the new head to the body. That's it. And then you render that out as an alpha, and then you have a fully rigged puppet. So you have the opportunity to do animation on the character, and then the puppet itself, and then you have obviously the animation of the lip sync with the lines on the head. When you put it all together, you then have a sort of avatar like the one that I'm using right now, only obviously in full detail with lip sync and everything. You then position that into your scene, which you would generate separately, and you could do that with multiple layers if you wanted to. And that's basically the deal. So with that light explanation out of the way, let's just cover a couple of things that we're going to need here. So let's go full screen. Zoom in. So what we're looking at is we're going to use LOKI first. So LOKI is a workflow that I released previously. It's going to help you with this. You're going to create a face model for each of your characters. Fully explained in the LOKI demo video. So there'll be a link in the description for that one if you're unsure of what it is. Essentially, it's taking some images, reference of your character, high quality portrait, and then we make a safe tensors model for the face, which the T-pose workflow is going to load. So obviously, if you had 5 characters in your production, you'd have 5 face models for those characters. And then when you're doing your prompting, obviously you would match male and female depending on the gender of the character. Other than that, the prompts are going to be the same. The seeds are going to be the same. The control net's going to be the same. Because otherwise it might become too divergent. We also have run with weak control net, but we'll get into that. So the scene is made up of backgrounds, and it is made up of characters, and it's made up of characters which are initially in T-poses. Faces I've covered, so we make a face model. We make T-poses of our characters, more the outfit, but the head is important. It would have the correct face on it anyway. That's how you get your idol. Okay. And then backgrounds, obviously, I'm going to use the same prompt, the same model, but with no control net, and obviously changing the prompt so there's no humans, all right? And any reference to humans will be removed from the prompt. So that's the basic setup for gaining your scenes. And obviously you can prompt whatever you want. Your characters, obviously you can load whatever checkpoint and Lora you want to get the character you want. And then it's the same. You'd use the similar prompt, similar model setup to get to, to train your face models. For speech models, I'm going to be using kits.ai again, but we're going to do a video in future on RVC, which is a collab version of doing your voice. Okay. So we've got a male and a female voice trained, and I'm going to have a third. I'm going to do a merge model for like a demo on kits. So I'm going to put up a third voice model, and then I'm going to merge my male with it, and we'll be able to see what that looks like. Okay. As for the puppets, something which you won't see other people do, which I'm going to do, is when we make the puppet PSD file, we're actually going to put a special tracker, okay? And it is essentially just 2 white dots on a black stick, okay? And you can use 1 or 2 motion trackers. I find you get away with 1 these days. And we're just going to track the motion X, Y, and then we're going to put the head on it. Very simple. Whenever we say RGBA, what we mean is we're rendering that particular video out to QuickTime.mov RGB with alpha. If there is an option to export with alpha, it will automatically choose this for you. I noticed in, I think, Character Animator, it might have had a weird option where you have to pick export with alpha, and then it will pick the QuickTime MOV format. Because otherwise you're going to get the background from the editor, which you don't want. There's no point rotoscoping everything out and that yeah. Anyway, so we've created the face models with Loki. We've already explained that. I do use HyperSuper in my workflows. So there is another tutorial on how to get that set up if you haven't already got it. It's basically a Lora that makes everything faster, combined with a really nice photographic upscaler. You use them both. It's optional though. You can turn it on and off. It's not actually needed to do the T-pose, but you can turn it on and get a much larger image to work with, which obviously is advantageous. Having a high definition puppet to start off with means that when you scale it down, you don't really lose much, but when you scale it up, it can actually go quite far. So it's like a full frame puppet, basically, or more than full frame, really, because it's, yeah. Anyway, getting back to this. The Adobe software we're going to use is Photoshop to make the PSD. I believe there are other tools which you can use in place of these. However, I'm only able to give the demo on what I've got. So Photoshop, Character Creator, After Effects, Premiere, pretty much the full suite. For ComfyUI, we're going to be using an SDXL checkpoint. Mine is a custom merge. I covered that in my merged checkpoints workflow video, where we merged RealViz and Juggernaut XL to make Real Jugs, okay? And that's pretty much the checkpoint I'm going to use. For SDXL, I'm going to be using a whole bunch of my Lora models. I'm going to be using the 80s model. I'm going to be using Not the True World, and probably also, and then obviously we're going to be using SDXL Hyper 8 Step. All of those Loras are available on Civit, but you can use whatever checkpoint in Lora you want with this. You will need Canny Control Net Depth and OpenPose V2. Those are all old now. I expect you've already got all of this stuff, but links are in the description if you are missing. The segmentation model you'll be able to nodes you'll be able to find in the ComfyUI Manager if you're missing them. Okay, and that's just basically to remove the background at the end and give us a nice a PNG version. But I'll be able to show you that. So if we take it from the final step, we've put our character into our background and then rendered the video. Last step is easy. Next, in order to get our character, we rotoscope, like motion tracked the head onto the puppet. All right. And obviously to create the head, we've gone speech with a headshot, video headra, and then in the previous video. So I guess you could actually say there is an additional step here, because technically in the last video, I already made the head in the last video to show everyone how to do that. So technically, there is actually an additional step right about here. And basically that is taking the head into After Effects. Okay. Yeah. That's essentially what that is. So let's just clean that up a bit. There we go. So there is an additional step there, to be fair, because I already had that asset. So fair enough. But we're probably going to redo that anyway in the fullness of the video. I'm just trying to give you a quick breakdown for people that just last for a couple of minutes. So here we go. We obviously took our speech audio and our headshot image, and we made the video, which we then did the After Effects, which we then attached to the puppet, right? So then before that, we use a webcam with our puppet to drive the video of the headless, the puppet, which has got the head that you can turn on and off. That's Adobe Character Animator. You will need to render that to RGBA. And then in order to have the actual puppet, we obviously have to build that in Photoshop, which is pretty easy, actually. It's very painless, very easy to do. You just import it into a project in Character Animator, and it'll just very little to do, really. But we're going to go through all of it. And then, obviously, we've got the first stage, which is where we're going to start today, and that is the prompt combinations, all the rest. One of the key things is arms outstretched. It really helps, even with the control nets, because if the control nets are too tight, you can't do as much with it. You have to turn the control nets down if you want it to actually make different things. So with that, let's jump into Comfy. And here we are. So now here we are. We're in Cos Trio T-Pose Factory V11. Now, if you don't have a cosine model, I do have a converter, so you can make your own cosine model from your favorite model. But if you don't have it, it's actually as simple as changing the checkpoint here. So if I was to just use my non-cos version, right, because that's my merge. Okay, used cubic hermite, the presets in the workflow. So you could make this yourself or use your own versions to do it. And essentially, what we're going to do, what I did was I converted it to cos. So then I've got cos running the generation. It's a cosine, be predictive, I think it was. No, constant cosine. Anyway, the point is it was you could convert any SDXL model to this system and you get a little bit more color range. Get true black, which is nice. But then down in the disabled upscaler section, which is optional, I'm using, like I said, I'm using the non-cos version because the cosine doesn't play with soup here very well, but you get better image generation. So I, use one on the in, and then the upscale uses the non-cos version, which is basically the merge that I had not converted. Anyway, converters are in the link description if you're interested in that, and there's a full video just explaining it all. Right. So what we've done then is this is the same Cos Trio Superior workflow with a few changes, all right? The main change, I'll just go over the Loras that are running right now. So we've got my horror, we've got my 80s style, and we've got my Not the True World. We've also got Thora running, but we're not calling the anime token, all right? And what that does is it allows me to sort of do some cool stuff with the prompt control. So I'm calling up the main trigger for the anime model from 0.3 to 0.7 only, so not initially, just in the middle. And then I'm also alternating between the horror and the 80s Lora every, 20th of the step count, which I think is either 8 or 10. And then we're asking for either of those style night. There's going to be a nice blend of the two. Short red hair, realistic, female focus, full body, standing, arms outstretched, ornate gold plate, full armor suit, 0.9 attention on the suit, Baroque chest plate, red cape, diffuse light, plain black walls. Now, you rarely get plain black walls, but I wanted it to be solo scene, so I just wanted to give it something. And usually it gives me like curtains or columns or something like that. All right, so the key thing here was arms outstretched, but it's not just the prompt. So if we go up here, what we've got is we've got the comfy roll multi-control net, and we are running open pose at 1 for the entire generation. We do have canny, but we're not running it right now because I found it didn't allow me to have enough variation from the source image, because it's like obviously a guy in a shirt. And then we have depth 128, which we're running at 0.6 for the first half of the generation steps. All right. So here's my open pose. And here's my depth. Now, you could, of course, use your own open pose, T-pose, and your own depth. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to include this image, which I've generated in the pack. So if you don't have a T-pose, you can just put it in there. I've made it separate because you might decide, for example, I might decide I want to put in this one and then activate Canny. Okay. And we'll see what that does in a minute. But basically, Canny is running at half strength and it ends at the first half, all right? But the point is, it won't be a guy in a shirt. It'll give a little bit more person in armor, right? But anyway, the next stuff is fun as well. So next we come into Reactor. Obviously, we're going to choose our character, which we trained using LOKI already. So in mine, I have Thora. And there she is. It looks pretty good. And we're using Retina Face and GFP GAN for the first pass, and then we're going to do Restore Face with Retina Face and Code Former on the second pass. And we end up with that. And like I said, if you can play with the strengths. So if you find it's going too far away from your character, you can obviously play with the strengths for these two to get it more or less. But you might suffer some blurring or pixelation if you go too far either way. And then finally, we do image segmentation. Now, this is the Allure plugin. And what it's going to do, it's going to use ISNet general use to create this lovely PNG. And then we're just going to save it. You don't need to use a special node. You can just save this and it will give you a transparent PNG. Now, this one is more of a preview because if I find, oh, I like this, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click yes on the Superior toggle. All right. And because it's running on fixed seed, fixed everything, I just need to run the prompt again. And then it's going to appear down here. Right. And again, we've got the convert, we've got the comparison, and then we've also got the big transparent, which is what is going to actually get used in Character Animator. So if I just have a quick look here, see why we're actually doing this. That's the original. That's the upscaled version. You know what? I've seen better. But it's all right, actually. It is all right. It's sharper. It's more everything else that looks better, actually. His face is a bit suck right now, but it's fine. The point is it's reproducible. And once we're happy with what we've got, this is what we're going to use. So it's never going to change. That's one of the advantages. But there is a little bit of legwork we've got to do. And so what I'm going to do now is we're going to go into Photoshop and we're going to take a look at how we would convert this gentleman here into puppet form. And here we are in Photoshop. And as you can see, we've got a bunch of layers. I'm going to have to disappear for a second because you won't be able to see them. Okay. So if I just start disabling stuff, that probably will make a lot more sense to people. So if I disable the head, okay, as you can see, I'm going to zoom in on that. So as you can see, what we've done here is we've chopped out the head. Okay. So the head, gone. Neck. So we've isolated the head as its own layer. And you can do that with the object detection tool. It takes seconds. Just drag a big box over the head. I mean, it's unfair if I demonstrate it from here. But maybe we'll have a look at a different one in a second and we can do something. But anyway, so if I disable the head, you can see this is what we're going to track the motion to. I usually pick the bottom circle. And then if I have a second tracker, I put it on the top circle. And that's enough for it to do a lot. Okay, it's very good and very, very fast. So that's how you are going to mount your video head once that's been rendered and rotoscoped as its own individual asset. So moving on to the body, what we've done, if I hide the main body and the cape, what we've done is we've isolated the arms, and because these are going to be going behind the body, we've drawn just a little bit of black, around where it's going to move. So it's going to rotate in a circle, right? So obviously the arms are going to go down and up. So you need a little bit of black just around the edges on the arm layers. Okay. And as you can see, there's no change to the main body. It's just the arms. Now, as for the cape, I had to kind of do that myself with a clone brush using the original image, which did actually have a cape. So I took the image that came out of Comfy. If we just go back to Comfy, you can see that he's got a cape, right? So what we've done is we've done object selection on his whole body, erased the entire body, and then used the clone brush from the bits we have to construct the bits we don't. And I did a terrible job. But because the dude's body is in front of it, it's actually passable. So I literally just took the, just took the clone brush, and then I've just gone Alt. Oh wait, it's not letting me do it. There we go. I've just gone Alt, click, and then just paint down. That's all it was. Okay. So very quick, easy job to make the cape. And that obviously goes on the back. So then we get the arms, we get the body, and there it is. Now there's some naming tricks to making this work. So obviously you save it as a PSD, but there's some folders. So if you just have a look, I might just zoom in real quick so you can see it. But the main folder is plus Duke. Underneath Duke, this layer is not needed. I've added that layer. It's not necessary. I've done it so that I can isolate the head for later. So you don't need to do that when you actually make this. Anyway, the head and the body. So the head folder should be above the body, and they both need to be inside Duke. Yeah. Inside the head is head, right? Just the head, right? If I just erase the head, it's just the body, right? The body is named BG. Okay. And remember, we've got head folder, head layer, body layer, BG. Sorry, body folder, BG layer. The left arm is called plus left arm. The right arm is called plus right arm. And I just called cape. Okay. All right. And then you save this. Okay. Save that. And now we can move into character animator. Okay. We're in character animator. Let's go full screen. Unfortunately, actually, there's nothing I need to show you over on the right-hand side, so I'm back. So here we are. Here is our Duke. Now, there's a couple of things that you have to do. It will come in all correct as it is here. Because of the way we saved it and everything, it'll come in correct. The head will automatically be a head. The body is a body. The BG. There's a few things that you have to do, though. So what I do is I first select the BG. And then I go down and I select the pin tool, okay? And what I do is I pin his feet. So you see how there's a fixed and a fixed? So I pin his feet down so that when he moves around, his feet are rooted to that whatever position this is in, okay? Because there is a little bit of a gravity simulation. And again, if I just click on the bones tool, or stick tool it's called, I can draw a stick where I think the bones are. And then if I leave a gap for the knee joint, these bits will stay straight. And essentially it'll look like he's got legs and he's kind of moving from side to side, right? So that's the body section. And then when we go to the left arm, what I do is I, again, make bones for the forearm and the upper arm. And then I get the dragger tool. So you can like puppet it around. And I put that one on the hand, and I do the same for the right arm. And also there is like an origin point. You select the selection tool. This origin point, it's got to be on a green spot. When you go to move it, you have to like intersect, and it'll pin it together like a, like a metal pin through two pieces of paper. And so then it will rotate there, right? Whenever I move this, it'll rotate there. And then finally, the cape that's at the back, all we have to do is go into the physics. I'll just make myself disappear real quick and hit dangle. You can tweak it, but you just need to hit dangle. It's not essential to, there you go. And then it'll kind of shake with the movement a bit like a cape behind, which is what you want, right? There you go. Now, the only thing about this is, obviously, this is going to render his face, his idle face, okay? And so, obviously, you do want to be able to render both an idle and a talking version of the puppet, because then you can have the puppet in the background not talking without any of the extra work. You can just be in the background like da-da-da. Obviously, you could render different faces and stuff, lift different facial expressions if you wanted. And here would be where you would easily swap them out, because obviously you could have multiple head layers, and then you can just have the one on that you want. Now, for the way I'm using this, I obviously want to motion track my video faces from Hedra. So I'm going to put a motion tracker here and here if I need to. Like I said, I found you only need one actually, but you can put a motion tracker right in the middle. The attention box goes around that, and then the computation box goes around that. You just hit play, it'll analyze and put the keyframes in, and then you can just literally select the layer and it's done. Very, very easy, very, very quick. But I will show you when we get there. And I think that, no, we're not quite there yet, but we're getting there. I think we might be going into Hedra next. Maybe. Anyway, time to move on. Oh, wait, no, it's not. I haven't explained the animation yet. Right, so what we can do is with the Puppet Juke selected, we can then click on the little film icon, and then we get a scene. And here's one that I've already made. So the scene will be as is. And it's just, I put a webcam on me. I positioned the hands behind his back, and I've just moved about to make the body have a little bit of a standing and talking animation, right? And this is about 25 seconds long. Okay. And then his arms are going to pop out. I don't think I did it for the full length. Yeah, there we go. It only goes to there. So, blur. And then I've rendered this and sent it to After Effects. The thing I wanted to note was the head that you want when it's not talking. You just enable the head, just literally visibility. Go back, and now he's got his head. And you just render him again, like now he's just sort of listening. He's just listening now. He's not talking. All right. And if he's in the background a little bit further away, I don't think people are going to necessarily notice. Okay. So now we can go to After Effects. And now we find ourselves in After Effects. Do not be intimidated. Sometimes I get lost myself and I have to look things up. Okay. There's a lot of controls in here, but don't let that intimidate you. So we've got a whole bunch of stuff that I've already done here. Here is the actual clip. So if I just go play,
I should really be going.
That's what it ends up looking like. So there it is.
I should really be going.
So we've got it tracked and following. So I want to show you how to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to erase this. I'm going to erase this. We've got nothing in the project now. And I'm going to take the video that we would have just rendered, which would be the puppet guy. Wait, hang on. No, it's the QuickTime. Make sure you render them into MOV, as I said. So then we've got our puppet guy with his head there. And then you may as well just put the put that in there as well. I put it above, okay, because it's going to be technically on top. I'm going to move this to about here. So it's actually on the clip. And then I'm going to open this up, open transform, and I'm going to say 50%. And then I'm just going to use the position to just move him roughly to where I want him to be. Like that. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to right click on the Duke puppet. And we're just going to go to track motion. We're going to hit play over in the right hand side. And we've done what I did every time. Control C. What we want to do is hit Alt mouse wheel and zoom in, and then just click somewhere in between these two boxes and just move it up. Put it right over the middle. I always forget to actually move the tracking point. It's quite funny. It's a bad habit I've got. Anyway, so now we can Alt mouse wheel to zoom back out and space and click and drag to reposition it if you need to. And then play. It's now going to analyze the frames. Do too many. Sometimes it's a good idea to actually, start a little bit before so it doesn't do something weird, right? Go over the clip. And then when you're done, put it back to the beginning of what your little area is. Hit apply. It will already have the only other layer selected, J3. So we just apply X and Y. And now when we play it back, it's going to follow.
I should really be going. I should really be going.
Now you could probably make this even better by doing some kind of stabilization on the head movement, but that would have been done in a previous After Effects, because as I say, I'm using a head from DDLP 1. So if you want to know how to do that, we can run through that really quick now. So if I'm just going to go quickly, I'm just going to go new project. Okay. And then I'm going to go over to Hedra. So here's Hedra, right? I've got a video, so I didn't have to waste time waiting for it to cook.
It was hard to see the end due to all the moving parts. However, I am glad that it all came together well in the end. The main advantage is that the characters will not change after being baked into puppet form. The Hedra heads allow them some limited life.
I don't even know if you could actually hear that. Probably not, but I've got the desktop audio off. So you download that file. So if I just quickly grab it myself and throw it into, throw it into After Effects. So there's my head, right? Okay, so we throw the head into a new Adobe After Effects composition, and then we double click on it. We go to the rotoscope brush, and we just draw a little bit on his head. Like so. It selects the outline pretty good because it's literally just on a white background right now. And then we let the video play.
However,
Okay, there we go. We're done. We're done. All right, save it. Or not. Render it out. And what we're going to need is we're going to need the, in fact, cancel this real quick. You want to make sure you've done it right. There's a composition tab. You can select that. Now you'll see it has been rotoscoped out and it's good. Okay. So it hasn't included anything outside. Perfect. Now we can Control M. And then when it comes through, obviously I want to uncheck that one. And we're going to go with QuickTime and then RGB plus alpha, just like that. That's all you need to do. And then we're just going to give it a name and a place so we know where the heck this one's going. I'm going to call this one Duke Face 2 and render. Okay, so now we've got our puppet mov and we've got our new face. So we're going to do the same again. We're going to drop the puppet in first because it's going to set the resolution for one thing. And then what we're going to do is we're going to chuck the Duke face, chuck it up top again. And we'll just, this is a 512 by 512 face, by the way. You could use a higher scale face if you wanted, but you run the risk of the face looking too good compared with the body. So I had to try and find a happy medium there. Obviously, you can do a bit more work on things to make them look a little bit better. But I just want to show you what this is actually is, because, you know, you could spend more time on everything, couldn't you, eh? Right. Up we go. Put his head on. It's roughly the same place. Now, you could do stuff with the anchor point so that it's, you know, a little bit not more natural. So, for example, I could move his head up a bit so that it's like his lip that's the anchor point, and then just reposition that again roughly where the marker is, and hopefully it'll like move like it's the base of his neck rather than his nose is this, you know. Little details like this don't take long, but I hope you can imagine what I mean. So if I just right click now and track motion, and then we're going to hit, whoa, we're not going to hit play. See, I nearly did it again. Right, up we go. Got to put this thing over our magic dot. And like I said, this used to be a thing that was very difficult and time consuming. And now you just hit play and it runs in real time almost. As you can see, it's sticking to it like dead eye precision. We don't really need to track the entire clip, but I hope you can see that it's not going to be intensive. So I'm just going to track it to there. All right. And oh, in fact, no, wait, he's still talking. So let's keep going. I forgot this is a much longer audio clip. All right, so there's fine. I'm going to move the work area end to just before the clip ends. All right. Move the track head back to the start. And we've got dukeface2.mov, which is the only other layer, automatically selected. So we click apply, X and Y, done. You can go back. We're on the composition now. So let's give it a play.
When I began working on the project, it was hard to see the end due to all the moving parts.
Damn, that's not bad. It's a little bit too much shaky head movement from the Hedra, but I think that if you used a bit of stabilization on that head first, that could eliminate that. But like I said, maybe that's a part 3. So let's just get on. So now we have our video. We're happy with that. We can Control M, send it to the render queue. And again, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going for QuickTime. And you guessed it, it's RGBA. Now, just a quick sort of catch up at this point while this renders. What we've got now is a puppet that can be placed anywhere in any scene in any scale. And if you get into 3D stuff, it can be skewed. So that means you can start placing cameras at strange angles and stuff, which we will be doing. But I wanted to have some kick-ass assets to start messing around with that stuff. And I hope you imaginative people can figure out where this is going. So, we've now got our talking guy with our line. We need to put him in a scene. And the best way to do that would be to generate one with the exact same everything, so it matches as much as possible, right? So let's make this guy a drawing room, I guess, right? I don't know if it's going to be able to figure that out, but let's see. So we're just going to quickly jump back to Comfy. So where are we? We made our prompts. We made our characters. We turned them into puppets. We did the webcam animation for the puppet layer. We then did our speech, and we created our Hedra, which we then rotoscoped out and then placed onto our puppet with After Effects, rotoscope, and motion tracking. And then what we have is we have our speaking puppet with a video head that can be placed anywhere in a scene. And obviously we could have made him pose, we could have made him do all kinds of stuff with the character animator, but we're just going to have him stand and talk for now. So the final piece of the puzzle is any editor. We're going to use Adobe Premiere. We're going to have a background image, and we're going to have our animated character. All right, so that's where we're at. So what I've got here is an exact copy. So I duplicated the tab, which I made the characters in, duplicated. And then what I've done is I've changed the prompt so there's no reference to people. So if I say style, Duke's library room, study room. Yeah, say study room. I mean, I don't even know what you would call it. A Duke's. I know there's a funny name for it. Atrium. I don't know. Anyway, we're going to make a cool. I even do that? I've never done that. It's the first time I've done that. Right. So we do that. I've got the upscaler on by accident, but that's okay. And then what we've also done is we have turned off the switch, which means that, yes, we are preparing our control nets, but they're not being applied. And so that means that none of that matters. And we're just going to get cool background. Yeah, we're going to get some room. All right, so let's see what it does. Okay, the other thing which I did change was I actually added a 16:9 aspect ratio because I wanted to get a HD background. And then I've obviously put it through face swap. This is going to fail because there's no one in there. But what you can do is disable reactor. What I'm probably going to do is put like a button to disable the reactor and the alpha here, this group of two, or something for the released version of this workflow, because it's convenient to be able to disable it so that you can quickly go through images. It seems like this guy's getting a bit confused right now, so I'm just going to cancel it and manually bypass both of these for now. And there it is. So let's just take a look at what the upscaler actually did. And it's added a lot of clarity. I mean, if you look at these books, they're all blurry. And now they have some definition and texture to them. Same with the outside. We've got like a weird sort of glass texture is what I would call it. Okay. This is all nice. Good reflections off the polished surfaces. Nice little details everywhere. Very good, very good. So this is what we're going to use as our background for the scene. So now we can jump over to Premiere and we can use our newly rendered actor along with this background to create a short scene. So we're going to start off with one I made earlier, so you've got a rough grasp of what we're going to do. Quick.
I should really be going.
Okay, so that was like a short scene. So what I'm going to do is we're basically just going to erase all of this. So just erase it. It's fine. And then we're going to bring in our new assets. Okay, so with our new background and our new puppet in the project, what we're going to do is we're going to drag the background in and just stretch that out a lot, because I think this is a good 30 seconds maybe. So stretch it out to about 10. And then we're going to grab our Duke, put him in there. Yeah, he's quite a long sequence there. So pull it out a bit more. All right, and then we've got our Duke in the scene, and he's like way over there. So I'm probably going to stand him around here, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. So what we're going to do is we're just going to select the Duke, go to Effect Controls, and I reckon just move him a little bit. See, I sort of just chuck him in there, and then I guess blow him up to about that. So you've got to worry about like perspective and stuff. So is he too tall standing like this? Maybe. Is he too short there? Yes. So I don't know. It's probably about there. I don't know. He's got a bit of a weird physique as it is. So maybe if I put him like this, maybe a little bit bigger. And drop it down a bit, maybe something like that. I don't know. It's to your heart's content, really. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the stopwatch here to make some, you know, keyframes. We're going to do the same thing on the background. So that means for the first like few frames, we're not doing any movement, right? And what I usually do is I just put a little bit of movement. So like if I make the background a bit bigger now, right? But only like not that much, like maybe like 10%, make it 10% bigger. So it's a slight pull in, right? And then what I'll do is I'll then go to the Duke and I'll give him also a 10% pull in. So let's say 253, right? I'll make him a little bit bigger, but you also want to make him a little bit higher now as well. So it's almost like you're getting a little bit of camera stuff going on, and you can mess around with this to your heart's content. You can put in smoothing curves and all kinds of craziness. But this should work.
It was hard to see the end due to all the moving parts. However, I am glad that it all came together well in the end.
That's pretty good. I mean, you know, I could have improved the masking for the head, I think. I think it could do with a little bit more feathering on the edges, but that's literally just you in After Effects. You saw how quickly I did it. I did it in seconds. So if you spend a little bit more time over the finer points, it's going to look much better. And this is actually pretty good. So like, what if I wanted to make it a bit more, you wouldn't really say a bit more extreme. So you'd need a much bigger image. So say I wanted to make this effect a bit more prominent, right? What I would probably do is I would probably start with the Duke being a bit smaller and maybe a bit over here, a bit taller, right? And then, yeah. And then what I'd do is I'd take the scene and I'd make that bigger from the get-go. All right. And now when we watch it, it looks like he's moving. But what if the background moved with him? So he still stood in the same spot. Probably be about there. Right? Okay, see? Now it just looks like a crazy camera angle. The problem is he's probably a bit, I don't know, is he too tall there? I don't know, it's pretty good. It's probably still a bit, I think his head is a bit big. I think it's because what happened is, if you look, the headdress started with a small head, look, and then the head goes brr, brr. So it's almost like his head got bigger. See, his head is that big. And then 1, 2, 3, his head just goes. Where does it do it? It's weird. It just suddenly his head is giant. Straight away, he like leans in, and then his face is just that big now. But I think that's just a generation chance thing. You can just like do a re-roll. If you're not happy with the head, you know. I just wanted to show you, this is one shot. So I've literally gone, generate, work with it. This is what it looks like. Obviously, you spend more time on every step, it gets better. But anyway, I could now have this character talk in this room with this voice and this face, say whatever I want, you know, and it's going to be like this. Also, I could make a new outfit for this face and it's all exchangeable. So the production system is pretty easy. I appreciate it's just a little bit, it's just like parallax with puppets and video heads. But hey, I love to do experimental stuff. And I'm sure that there's a lot you can do with this. And it'll probably work for different styles too. I might have a go at trying like a cartoon or something to see what that looks like. But I wanted to try the photorealism because it's the biggest challenge. So aside from these sort of weird edges, this is pretty good. So like I said, this is made now. Now, how can we make this better? The easiest way is to throw in some BGM. Now I'm going to use the remix tool to simply stretch it out to what it needs to be. And let's stretch it out more. Well, it looks like you can't hear background noise. I checked. Essentially what this is a recording of the sound of my room when there's no noises. There might be some, like, we might be able to hear some bird song from outside maybe, but it's essentially some background noise so that it doesn't sound so artificial. So when you play it back, it's actually got like a hiss. Whoops. And we can select the tune and we can go to, it's not music, it is ambience from outside. And then we can put a clip on it of about -3.
All the moving parts.
More.
However,
More.
I am glad that it all
12.
came together. When I began working on the
More.
project, it was
More.
hard to see the end due to all the moving.
Yeah, that'll do. All right, cool. So there it is. And then we do the remix tool again. So up and a bit more. Can I get a bit more? Okay, cool. So essentially it's using AI to loop it. Wait, why have I lost the thing? We want to go to, oh, don't tell me you can only do this with music. Well, that's annoying. Right, well, in that case, I'll just do the clip myself. There we go.
See the end due to all the moving parts. However, I am glad that it all came together.
I wanted to master it for outside, but it seems like you're not allowed. Can we customize? I know that's just the segments for the, yeah. Okay, it's fine. I thought I could combine both. I was wrong. But it's got loudness, and it's got ducking, which I'm not using, and it's got level, so yeah.
When I began working on the project, it was hard to see the end due to all the moving parts.
That'll do. So we save this one, and then we'll go to the end of the project, go back one frame and hit out, Control M, and I hope it didn't keyframe anything with the audio. And then we will call this one Comp 2. That'll do. That'll do. And so then it becomes storyboarding, script writing, speech model training, picking your image models or training them, and an Adobe subscription. It would be interesting to see if we can find open source alternatives for these tools. But if you're going to be doing it for commercial use, the cost of this software is a business cost anyway. So I don't really, I kind of shy away from the whole debate, because it's almost like when you're learning, yeah, you don't want to be paying all that money. But when the customer's paying, you need to do it quickly. And if you can have one suite, which you can just duck and dodge between like this, it's not actually that bad to just bite the bullet, basically. That's what a lot of people do, Anyway, I'm sure that DaVinci Resolve and other, well, it's not even actually technically, is it technically free? I mean, it is, but there's a paid version. It's kind of like, can you actually do what we're doing in there? We'll have to look into it. It's probably worth looking into. So if anybody has suggestions of open source alternatives to any of the software you've seen in this guide, please post them in the comments, because I'd love to take a look at them too. Right. So from here, we select this area. We've got our in and outs. Control M. We've done the render. I believe I've already done that. Yeah, I've already done this. And so now we've got a file. So let's just take a quick look and see if we can just play it. Okay, here is the video that we just put together.
When I began working on the project, it was hard to see the end due to all the moving parts. However, I am glad that it all came together well in the end. The main advantage is that the characters will not change after being baked into puppet form. The Hydra heads allow them some life. When I began working on the project, it was hard to see the end due to all the moving parts. However,
oh yes, there it is. It works. Kind of overloaded my system a little bit. Had to shut the old thing down there, but hey, there it is, guys. So I hope that's pretty much explained it to you. I'm just going to run through the workflow one more time. Obviously, the T-pose workflow is going to be available on the pack. There'll be a link in the description for that. This here was what we've just done. So we created our T-pose puppet bodies and faces, consistent characters there. We created our library of outfits with heads again in the Photoshop in the puppet format. We've then imported that into Character Animator. It's just new project import PSD in case you guys didn't pick up on that one. We've shown you how to add all of the rigging so that it understands the namings of the layers and things, and it's just easy to paint the bones in with your mouse. We've shown in the previous video how you can train your own speech models. So we've obviously used speech model to create the lines, and then we've used a screenshot of the character's head to generate the Hydra, so the lip sync head. We've then used After Effects to rotoscope the head out of the Hydra video. And then we've used After Effects to attach the head back onto the puppet, because we built the puppet with that special tracking neck. Yeah. And then finally, we've generated our backgrounds using our image model and used our character, which has all been built out of our image models and stuff and our voice models. It's all done by us, into a little scene. And then obviously, you know, you could have multiple layers for different parallax effects. You can have props in the scenes. You can have different characters talking to all kinds of stuff you can do. Placing the characters in the scenes at various distances. You can have them on a cliff in the distance, shouting at the rain. There's all kinds of stuff that can be done. And I've tried to keep it simple and clear. If you've got any questions about how this is done, go ahead and throw them in the comments. But that is pretty much it. You will find the workflow and all the links in the description. So there it is, DDLP Part 2. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.